everybody. We are going to break down some things about AutoZone. We're going to go over some their external and internal analysis. We're going to go over their mission and goal. Um, my name is James. We have Alex, Kylie, Kiernan, and Ronnie here with us today, and you'll see them along the PowerPoint.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexis Major and I'm going to be doing the executive summary. So through this presentation you'll see us talking about the mission and goals, the external analysis, as well as the industry analysis. So to touch on more into those topics for our overview, AutoZone support its mission by offering competitive prices, which is because I personally go to AutoZone for everything. So competitive prices, convenient services, and customer first approach. And what I mean by that is the customer service is always exuberant. It's never been a time where I had bad customer service or someone didn't want to help me, and I feel like that also helps sticks out from the experience overall. Another thing is the external analysis. So basically, it shows a double-edged sword. Some would say for AutoZone, of course, macroeconomics and technological shifts will challenge the traditional retail model, which we'll touch more on that. And industrial analysis is the biggest challenge. It's a very strong competitive rivalry from major rivals such as O'Reilly and Advanced Auto Parts, alongside strong buyer powerhouse because customers can easily compare prices online versus in-store shopping. Hello. To continue what I was saying about the executive summary, we also will touch on the topics of strategic choices, strategy implementation, recommendations, as well as close it all off with a conclusion. So when we talk about strategic choices, we usually look at the best cost business strategy, offering quality auto parts, helpful customer service, and competitive prices, like I was saying earlier. These strategies have really strengthened customer loyalty and supported long term growth within the company itself, but there are also required investments in inventory, employee training, and supply chain operations. So, as far as the implementations, things that made AutoZone a retail DIY, like major force, start to create headwinds as they attempt to scale their commercial B2B operation, which we will definitely talk on that more. So a little bit for the recommendations. We had 5 strategic recommendations for AutoZone's future growth. It mostly focused on the modernization operations, so making sure that they are standing in time of what's going on in today's world. That can be such as AI-driven inventory tracking, um, also the digital shopping, like online shopping, to make sure that the prices online won't necessarily challenge the prices in store to keep your customers coming into stores. It also will tell you how we suggest to pivot towards the growing EV parts market, continuing our international expansion, and how to strengthen our B2B commercial relationship with repair shops and fleet services. And to conclude all that up, the overall message that we are trying to get across with learning the material that we learned in class to apply it to this presentation in the paper is that it's a really pivot towards modernization and expansion, really. In the presentation, you will see the foundations and how it kept a solid ground, and its future success relies on adapting in modern landscape by investing. So I hope you enjoy. So we're gonna jump right into AutoZone's mission and goals. As you can see here, I listed 5 mission and goals that was really important in how they executed. Um, AutoZone mission is to provide trustworthy automotive parts and outstanding customer service. Their goal is really to help customers keep their vehicles running safely and reliable by offering high quality products at competitive prices. They also focus on making vehicle maintenance as convenient as possible and affordable for both everyday drivers and professional mechanics. I would say in the paper, I talked about how AutoZone offers free battery testing. Also, it can it checks like your windshield wipers, make sure that your windshield wipers as well. And also, if you need a battery replacement, they also replace your battery for you. And the batteries aren't that high. I know personally that I had to go and get many batteries, many cars, many batteries. So I think that the execution of having those type of loyalty rewards for the customers also helps the customers continue to come back. So I think that as far as I can see, AutoZone is maintaining their mission and goal.
My name is James Emirelli, and I'm going to go over our external and internal analysis. So first of all, we'll start off with our general environmental. Um, our general environment, so broken down with a pastel analysis. So first of all, political. So as you know, tariffs on imported automotive parts can increase inventory costs and reduce profit margins. I mean, this happens with every item that's being imported throughout the U.S. That has tariffs on it. You know, that can be a problem for any company. AutoZone must comply with all environmental and labor and consumer protection regulations. They have to, pay attention to all those as along with all the other companies. Economic, so inflation obviously has a huge impact on prices of parts and transportation and labor costs, along with the economy is not, if the economy is not thriving, many consumers may focus on repairing their cars rather than going and buying new ones if it breaks, which is pretty common, with if interest rates rise, people don't want to take out loans to buy a car or stuff like that, so they'll rather just go fix the older car themselves. And with sociocultural, according to the Bureau of Transportation, the average vehicle's age on the road continues to increase, causing more demand for maintenance and replacement parts. And what that means is people are holding their cars, or they have their cars for longer. So like I think the average age was around 13. So the older it gets, the more maintenance you're gonna have to put in, the more aftermarket parts you're gonna have to buy, all that stuff. Um, since COVID, expectation for online ordering has risen. Obviously, this means like people expect more first day delivery stuff, things more easier access, like if they order something, they need it like right away, they need it right now, stuff like that. For technology, growth in e-commerce and inventory management systems helps improve customer service and operational efficiency for sure. Um, growth in electric car industry leaves fewer demand for some trend, traditional replacement parts. By that I mean like with the electric cars, they don't have the same parts as the electric cars. Um, and with the electric car industry being so niche and all, it's hard for them to have you know all the traditional parts that an electric car would need, rather than all the traditional parts a gas car would need, because they all need the same parts. Gas cars all need the same parts. Not all electric vehicles need the same parts. And according to the 2025 10K form for AutoZone, um, it's current. They are currently in various legal proceedings involving claims and allegations related to wages and hourly violations, unlawful termination, product liability, and privacy, cybersecurity. So this is something that they posted in their 10K that they feel will not affect their financials at all. They're looking into it, and they're obviously hoping to win this battle. Okay, now we're going to look into our industry analysis. So With threats of new entries, it's very weak. It's a weak force. It's a very high startup cost. Brand loyalty is very strong, and the large distribution network makes it difficult for new companies to enter the market. It's a strong competitive rivalry, very strong, very strong. AutoZone competes closely with O'Reilly's, Advanced Auto Parts, and online retailers through pricing, customer service, and product availability. Bargaining power for suppliers. Many suppliers in the industry, which limits the supplier's buying power. Um, and the supply chain distribution and tariffs increase costs. So the supply chain issues can still impact costs for sure. Bargaining power for buyers is strong. Customers can easily compare prices, switching retailers, forcing companies to compete with value and service. The threat of substitutes is a moderate force. So they have obviously repair shops, and the growth of electric vehicles can create substitute options for sure. But demand remains strong due to the aging vehicle population. Not everybody has a brand new vehicle. It came out this year. It's honestly very rare to have a brand new vehicle. And but overall, the industry is moderately attractive. Although competition is very intense, high barriers to entry and constant demand for replacement parts can help support long-term profitability for AutoZone. So now moving on to our competitor analysis. So O'Reilly Automotive is a strong overall competitor, leading in operating margin, net profit margin, ROA, and inventory turnover, demonstrating superior operational efficiency. But AutoZone remains highly profitable, with revenue nearly matching O'Reilly's and maintaining strong margins well above the industry average. As you can see, Advanced Auto Parts significantly trails both competitors, with much lower profitability and returns indicating they are having some operational challenges. The negative ROE values for AutoZone and O'Reilly that you see in the chart are primarily the result of an aggressive share repurchasing program that have been created that have created negative shareholders' equity. They posted this in their 10K form. More information about it is their performance can be shown through like cash flow metrics if you want to look more into how this has an effect on them. But for the most part, this shouldn't have any major effects. Overall, the data suggests the industry leaders, AutoZone and O'Reilly, have strong competitive positions, while Advanced Auto Parts has lost ground in the operational efficiency and profitability. So looking at our internal analysis, we'll start off with our intangible resources. So they have a highly recognized brand along with long-standing supplier relations. So they're highly recognized brand. Sorry, my bad. Highly recognized brand along with a strong supplier relation and strong customer loyalty. So their brand is obviously very well known in the automotive industry. And they've been around a long time, and they're very well connected throughout their supply chain. They have good relationship. They have a sustainable supply chain that's efficient for them, and they have a strong customer loyalty. So some of their human resources are knowledgeable store employees. So when you walk in, they know what they can help you out very easily. They know what parts do what. They know about cars. They know about parts. They know what you need. They have experience management, and this goes along with knowledgeable store employees. The managers know what you need as a customer, and they also are very well managed in the store and know what products they need and how to manage the system correctly. And strong customer service, that goes along with a knowledgeable store employee and online customer service. So, tangible resources, more than 7,300 retail locations across North America and South America. And they have multiple regional distribution centers and a very large inventory. And they also have a very strong financial position, as you can see in the last slide. Okay, we will be going over our core competencies and capabilities now. So, as I said earlier, they have a really superior inventory availability. Um, so they pride themselves on having the products that available to them. They want to be able to have these products as fast as possible. Right in your hand the day you need it, because aftermarket parts can be extremely important to day-to-day life. What if something happens? You're on your way to work and you break down or something, and you need something quick to fix it up if you know what you're doing. Um, Having that availability is extremely crucial for them because people need their cars in their everyday life, and having these parts can be detrimental to their everyday life. So they also have a strong supply chain efficiency. They run smoothly through their well-grown relationship with their supply chain. They know who what they can rely on as a supply chain because of their experience building there. They have a high brand reputation. The brand reputation is extremely well known. When you think of aftermarket parts, you think of maybe three things, and AutoZone is one of them. You have high quality customer service, like I said earlier. They know what they're talking about. They know what you need. And then if you're calling online or something like that, they have a good response call. It's all that stuff. Um, Capabilities. So they have this kind of goes on top of some of their core competencies, obviously. So they have an efficient inventory management. They know what inventory they need and what inventory they're lacking. Their computer system is run very well. Um, they have fast commercial delivery services. So say a repair shop needs a part, they can't always just call the manufacturer, right? Sometimes they call AutoZone they call AutoZone and they'll be like, "Hey, I need a part." And AutoZone will be there ASAP. They'll be there as quick as they possibly can, and they have strong purchasing power along with efficiency control. All right, and our final breakdown is our strengths and weaknesses. So this is going to be a little bit of repetition from the last few slides, but it's just kind of break down it simply. So some of the strengths that they have are strong and recognizable brand reputation, as I said before. They have a large nationwide store network. As I said earlier, they have 7,300 retail stores located nationwide. They have an industry-leading inventory management, so they know they know their inventory. They know what they have. They know what they don't have. They know when they need to buy things to restock, stuff like that, and a loyal customer base. Focus on some of their weaknesses. So they have a heavily dependent on the North American automotive aftermarket. So they really need we're really dependent on the supply chain from people manufacturing aftermarket parts. We're very reliant on that. Limited exposure to electric vehicle replacement parts. As you know, like I said earlier, some of these parts they're very niche. Every electric vehicle can be very different. And when it comes to gas vehicles, for the most part, they are very, very similar. And you can buy replacement parts pretty easily. But when it comes to electric vehicles, it's very hard to get these to make money as a retailer with very niche parts that not many people need as of right now. But maybe in the long run, electric vehicle replacement parts will be more affordable or more reliable and easier to come across. So they also have significant competition in both online and traditional competitors. As you can see, you got O'Reilly, you got um, all the online stores like Amazon. You can buy some windshield wipers off Amazon. So they have to build a bigger brand online for sure. They keep going at where they are retail wise. Obviously they can catch up with O'Reilly at some point, but they're doing well financially wise, and it seems like working well as a group. So, all right, thank you.
So starting this slide, we're going to be talking about AutoZone's strategic choices through business level strategy and corporate level strategy. So AutoZone actually uses a best cost strategy, and that's basically explaining that they bring the value of lower cost with the value of convenience for that customer into one physical location. So for some pros for business level strategy would be building loyalty and retention. And that's just basically saying that those customers will depend and they'll need help and go to AutoZone whenever they need that convenience and the lower prices. So another pro would also be standing out against online heavy competitors that are having higher prices or not able to cut costs. And then lastly would just be centering together the value of convenience into one spot. So a physical location. So that's the convenience and lower prices that these customers are needing. So some cons behind business level strategy would be high operating costs, inventory supply. And that's basically just stating that there's a little under 8,000 AutoZones. And they have to maintain and keep the supply chain continuously going so that their inventory supply and stock is up to date. Another high level training and another high level or another con would be a high level training and knowledge that needs to be repeated. That's basically just saying that they need to invest more into their training and update it more and more because people are needing help in different scenarios now and people speak different languages, and these employee training programs, they're looking for these types of people that have knowledge in automotive industry so that they can help with training their own employees. And then lastly for a con would be external threats from online competitors through just cheaper and lower costs. And that's basically explaining that there's always going to have those online competitors, and there's always going to be trying to have lower prices and lower costs and get the most margin out of it all. So switching over, we're going to be talking about corporate level. Corporate level they actually use a focus level or focus growth, and that's basically explaining that they take all of their attention and they use it on that one strategy, and they're expanding in between it and investing and growing into the automotive industry. So one advantage of this strategy is that AutoZone can leverage the resources it already has, and the company has a recognizable brand. They have a good network, physical locations, and they just have knowledge behind supplier relationships in the industry itself. So expanding kind of helps them rebuild on their own palace they've built. So AutoZone can achieve the growth through commercial and international expansions. However, kind of creates a risk when opening new operations and locations and then just entering additional markets. AutoZone also must continuously invest in inventory because stores and just with customers require more products to be available throughout its distribution network. So that's basically saying that there's some parts of the world that need more, 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 while some parts of the world need less and they don't really need it and it's sitting on the shelves. So they're constantly and actively pumping these products to get it to these places in the world that are needed and they're sought after and the demand is very high. And then as AutoZone just continues investing, they need to look into their AutoZone. They need to look into their supply chain and kind of watch the complexity with their supply chain. it kind of creates hardships whenever it comes to transporting or suppliers or just the thousands of stores that are having these day-to-day problems in the daily operations. And I say this because the customers can still access the product they need, but these things need to get fixed in order for that customer to get to what they need. So we just got done talking about the current um, AutoZone strategies that are being used in the business level and the corporate level. So now we're going to be talking about the alternatives for AutoZone strategic choices, which between commercial expansion, omni-channel growth, and EV and hybrid. So for commercial expansion, that's basically just explaining that they are increasing their focus more and more onto business-to-business um, customers, such as mechanics and shop owners and these garages that work on these cars. And some pros for this would actually be increased business overall sales and a rise in business-to-business demand. So these shop owners and these mechanics and garage owners, they actually rely on AutoZone when it comes to these parts day to day. And that rises the demand, which then rises the business and then projects and pushes that sales to be increased. However, there are some cons for commercial expansion, and that's just having a larger inventory and faster delivery time necessary whenever they need to get it from nation to nation or shipping it across different countries. It can take a little bit longer whenever they're restocking, but they usually do run it heavy. And if they can't, then it might cause an issue whenever it comes to the time these parts we need to be in or the convenience of it all. And then the last con would just basically mean that the commercial competition is basically just targeting professional automotive customers, and there are people like AutoZone that are doing commercial expansion and that are helping other business to businesses out. I'm going to be diving into omni-channel growth. This is the second alternative, and it's basically just focusing on creating a strong connection between the online and the inline or the in-store operations. This for the pros, this is very super convenient for customers, and it grows in competition or versus online heavy competitors. And basically, this means that the convenience for the customers expected to easily be moved between online to inline shopping. So if you need to research like a product online, they can check online and then look to see if it's available at the local AutoZone, but without having to leave the house. And then for growth, growth in competition versus online health or online heavy competitors, that's basically just stating that like these online competitors, they do have a large network, but with the physical stores that AutoZone has, which was a little under 8,000, then they can't really get that immediate product out and pushed out to these different areas. However, there are some cons. So whenever it comes to the expenses to consistently maintain technology for these systems in order to ship out these products and whatnot, they need to update and have accurate information without exceeding a certain budget, and the con would just be constantly riding very lean on that budget. And then that last would be rough and hard to stay connected by online to in-store operations. And that's basically just meaning that um, systems, if they're not properly connected and they're not being ran that they need to be ran, it's basically saying that problems will occur, like the website will say that it's in stock, but when they get to the store, it's not there and it's out of stock. And that's a common issue that a lot of companies have nowadays. So now we're going to be moving on to alternative three, and that's about EV and hybrid expansion in channels. And that's the final alternative. And it's basically is explaining that AutoZone would begin investing heavily into replacement parts and employee training and knowledge for these related to specifically for electric and hybrid vehicles. This reason actually, for the pros, would actually create a future opportunity. And in the automotive industry, it can change a lot. As more EVs and hybrids, they can actually enter the market and become older, and new vehicles will eventually require maintenance and replacement parts as well that AutoZone can carry because they use that opportunity. They took a opportunity on the future. So preparing another pro would actually be AutoZone would also need to invest in employee knowledge because EVs and hybrids are so different. They're so new. These customers that are asking for help in specific parts, they don't really know too much. So if you have that knowledgeable expertise on the new and improved, then you can help anybody out that is coming in with any problem. However, there are some cons whenever it comes to EV and hybrid expansions. And that's just basically saying that it's more financially risky because AutoZone would need to invest in a new inventory and training, and they would just have to dump a whole bunch of investing to continue the customer demand with growth, but it would all be unpredictable because who knows, EV could stay short rate and not really increase for the long run. We can't predict it, but we can just go based off of what we've known from the patterns. And if the company is just investing like too aggressively, then the demands would just remain really low, and then AutoZone could be left with just a whole bunch of inventory and not enough sales. And then just overall, these alternatives presented, um, the commercial expansions focusing on increasing revenues between business to business sales. Omni-channel growth is basically just focusing on the technological connection to in-store operations. And then lastly, EV and hybrid is basically just expanding and preparing AutoZone for long-term changes in the automotive industry so that they can keep up to date and have a more competitive advantage.
Hello, my name is Kieran Moynihan. For strategy implementation for AutoZone, structure for the hub and spoke network plus decentralized store decisions enable fast and reliable commercial delivery. Tension is centralized purchasing can slow response to local demand variation. Leadership, internal promotions help preserve continuity and speed decision making through transitions. The tension is insider bench risk blind spots on new capabilities. For culture, the mindset drives the accuracy and reliability commercial accounts need. And the tension is the counter service culture doesn't fully transfer account management. For controls and incentives, it helps fill rate, growth metrics to managers focused on strategic priorities. The tension is tight financial discipline and can crowd out patient infrastructure investments. Resource and capabilities, the help it scales and balance sheet strength fund mega hub build out competitions can't match. And the tension is commercial sales force e-commerce capabilities still need rivals. Thank you.
The recommendations I would provide for AutoZone are they should incorporate the use of AI and data analytics to help with stock, which would help reduce the shortages, and inventory to help predict inventory that will go, needed, and be sold. Another recommendation I would have for AutoZone is the electric vehicle market is rapidly growing. So having more electric vehicle parts and stock for the electric vehicles in the store could benefit more customers that are investing into the rapid vehicle industry. Another one I would have is there's a strong aftermarket demand internationally. Therefore, I think AutoZone should continue expanding into the international markets like they've already started to, but growth in there would be great. I also think expanding investments into new up-to-date online shopping, in-store pickup, and courier delivery options would benefit a lot of AutoZone's customers. And the last recommendation I have for AutoZone is to continue building relationships with the repair shops and fleet service providers to maintain their relationships and create new networking and referrals. In conclusion, I think AutoZone should continue to keep up its competition by expanding and online the shopping world and continuing strengthening its relationships with the repair shops and the fleet service providers. I think the company's quality products, customer service, and operational efficiency have allowed AutoZone to sustain solid financial growth and keep a competitive advantage. I also came to the conclusion that AutoZone can continue to satisfy customer needs, improve its position in the marketplace, and achieve long-term success when it puts the given recommendations into effect. Eliminating stock shortages, boosting operational efficiency, and enhancing inventory forecasting all become achievable with the use of AI and data analytics. There are a lot of possibilities for future growth due to rising demand for electric vehicle industry, growth in parts, internet shopping, and expansion internationally. In conclusion, I think AutoZone, with a few little tweaks, can continue to have a successful and growing business.